Cool. All right, well, thank you all for having me here. For those who don't know me, my name is Tyler Hudak. Sorry. I've been in security for a while. I work right now on Blue Team for a medical institution. Pluralsight author, huge gaming geek. If you guys want to talk games afterwards, all for that. My contact information, and then the bottom part there is the typical, what my company makes me put on any presentation that I give. This talk, if you didn't see, malware analysis in 10 minutes. The whole goal of this lightning talk is basically to show that you don't have to do a whole bunch of analysis in order to analyze malware and figure out what it does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through something that I did the other day based off of some alerts that I received. And within 10 minutes, I had every answer that I needed in order to detect if there was any other systems on my network that had been compromised. Very, very easy to do. A little bit more background on me. I work as the team lead for Security Operations Center. We're kind of a blend of a Security Operations Center and incident response team. So we pretty much do all of what may be separated into other teams. But one of the things that we do is, we receive the alerts from our SIM and from various places around our network. And we have some use cases set up so that if we see hosts going out to any of the JavaScript crypto mining sites like CoinHive, we get alerts on that because if you don't know what CoinHive is to begin with, it's a JavaScript. It's a site that hosts JavaScript that allows you to do Monero. I believe it's Monero, maybe other cryptocurrency as well, mining within a browser. And so, because it's so easy to deploy, a lot of attackers now, when they compromise like a web server, they will go out and they will just install a link to CoinHive or some other site that's hosting the CoinHive JavaScript that they threw up, and start mining on anybody who visits, or having anybody who visits the site mine it. We've seen compromises related to this, and so we get very itchy when we start seeing CoinHive, people going out to CoinHive on our network. Now, this particular alert that I had seen was that we had multiple systems going to CoinHive at the same time. If one system is going to something like CoinHive, that's not a big a deal. They probably just hit a website that's been compromised or a website where the admin threw something up. But when I see multiple internal systems going to CoinHive at the same time, that gets the hairs on the back of my neck standing up a little bit, and I want to investigate that a little bit more. So that's what this is all based around. So I went out and I started looking at the network traffic of the hosts, and we have EDR deployed on all of our hosts, so I can pull back web history from a host in about 3 to 4 minutes. We're kind of lucky that way. But I went and on a number of these hosts, I pulled it all back, started looking at the network traffic, and determined that all of these hosts had visited endnote.com just prior. That was the common denominator amongst all of this. Is anybody familiar with EndNote? Okay, I had never heard of it before this. It's essentially, or it appears to be just a way to create bibliographies very easily. It's basically a product. Well, I went out. I should say too that the stuff that I'm talking about kind of assumes that you already have the infrastructure in place to do malware analysis. And I'm going to try to do a live demo as well. It will likely fail, but to show you, how easy it is to do this. All I have on my system is a virtual machine, and I'm going to be able to, analyze all this and get everything that I want. But I went out to a internet connection that I have that I use to anonymously pull down websites and malware, and pulled EndNote, or went to EndNote, looked fine. I pulled the source code, and something stuck out at the very bottom. It was a little unusual. You can't tell right here. The stuff on the top, the stuff on the top right here. Sorry, I have a new pointer, and so I'm just using it. So it's pretty awesome, yeah. This part right here, in the green, that's the bottom of the normal web page. It's legitimate. Everything below that are things that were added by attackers. And in fact, when I first went to it, it only went to right here. The stuff below didn't appear until the next day, so it was getting recompromised throughout the day. I started doing a little bit of analysis on EndNote, and it turns out that they're running Drupal. And if you're familiar with Drupal, you know that there have been a lot of vulnerabilities lately, so this is probably how they're getting hacked. When you look at this a little bit, these two right here are going back to CoinHive directly. All right, so that's where my CoinHive alerts were coming from. So I know what that is. The other two, though, those were kind of interesting to me. You know, one right here, oops, again, this one right here, that's a SWF file. What? Anybody know what that is? SWF? Flash, right. Nothing has ever been bad in Flash, right? The one down here, this was just some, you know, randomly named file, but it was another embed tag, like the one up here. So I wanted to see what these were. I wanted to know, is this malware? Do I need to start looking for malware on my systems that's not some type of coin miner? And so I started digging into it. All right, so let me see. All right, so now we're going to try to do some live analysis. I will say, let me say two things. As of a couple hours ago, these sites were still active. The malicious sites were still active. EndNote had been cleaned up, but it was the malicious stuff was still out there. You could pull it down. Another thing that I'll say is I went to get a screenshot of the source code, of that source code there, and because I forgot to grab one when it was on there. So I went to archive.org. Be careful, because archive.org if you go there and pull it up, it has the malicious code inside of it. So the first thing that I did was I went and I downloaded add.swf. All right. I wanted to make sure that it was in fact a Flash file. Right now I'm just in the Remnux virtual machine. If you're not familiar with Remnux, it is it's from Sans Lenny Zeltzer. He created it's a virtual machine, a Linux virtual machine that all it is malware analysis stuff. So I'm running the file command against it. It tells me that it's a Flash file. Great. So how many people in here do malware analysis? All right. What is one of the first commands that you ever run when you're doing malware analysis? Strings, yes. So I'm going to do strings. And boom. Two things should pop out really fast to you. The first is up here we have PowerShell. Right. Yeah, it's bypassing execution policy. Then below it you have this thing that says Adobe Mine POC, trying to evade sex solutions. So because these strings are just sitting in there, as an analyst, I don't need to do a full analysis on this Flash. I don't need to get a Flash decompiler and look through the action script and figure out what it's doing. I'm going to right now go off of the assumption that the PowerShell is what it's going to run. Now, I could be wrong. You should never make assumptions in security, but this is a pretty good assumption. When you see PowerShell and something like this, it's probably trying to run that. So what I was concerned with is, all right, so it's launching PowerShell and it's downloading another PowerShell script. So what is that PowerShell script doing? What I'll say too is, because I don't have it in here, if you Google this, Adobe Mine POC, you'll find the exact CVE that it's trying to exploit. It's from February of this year. It's a Flash vulnerability. So what I did is I went out and I grabbed the main.ps1, and it's this PowerShell script. Actually, let me jump over here because I got a little bit better. All right. So this kind of goes through. This is the full PowerShell script of what it was doing. So remember, it's going to run the exploit in the Flash file, download the PowerShell script, and this is everything that it does. And essentially all it does is it sets a file name up on top, and Windows Tasks Explorer.exe, where the L is replaced with a 1. It sets up its own base64 decoding function, makes sure that it's not actually Explorer running this, and then it downloads another file. Okay. All right, this isn't working. So it downloads another file from, again, the same host, consolehost.exe. So now we're downloading another executable. And then at the very bottom, it has 2 pieces of base64 that it's going to execute. You know that there are a couple ways that you can tell that it's base64. The first is that, well, first off, it's doing the convert from base64 function, so that should give it away. But if you ever see any strings that have the double equal sign at the end, that's a big giveaway that it's base64. So what I wanted to do is, first I wanted to see what that base64 code was executing, and then I wanted to download consolehost.exe and see what that is. So is anybody in here familiar with the site CyberChef? Cool. CyberChef is a very cool site. Let me do this. Let me grab this base64 out of here. And what CyberChef allows you to do is you can plug in whatever encoding or text you want, and then you have all these recipes on the side that you can start putting in, and it will decode or encode things for you. So I'm just going to say from base64. Hopefully this will work. And then click bake. Oh, it did it automatically for me. And you should be able to see at the bottom. Actually, let me do this. Sorry, I should have launched this before. Then you can see at the bottom down here, this is what it decodes to. So what we have here is the base64, the first set of base64 that it's trying to execute. It executes the explorer.exe that it ran, or that it downloaded, with all of these commands or parameters given to it. Does anybody recognize what these parameters could be?
Yeah, for crypto mining.
Right, for crypto mining pools. So chances are this explorer.exe or whatever it's called that it downloads is another crypto mining software. But we have that other piece of base64 code. Let me copy that out. Plug it in here. And what we see here is the second piece of base64 code is setting up persistence on the system that it just compromised. What it's doing is it's setting up a scheduled task called Windows Update Check, where it's just going out and running the PowerShell again to download that original PowerShell script that we saw. So the main.ps1, which we already saw, it goes in, it downloads the whatever executable, we'll verify that in a second, and then sets up a scheduled task so that every so often, every day at 12, it will re-execute and download the latest version and recompromise the system and so on and so forth, all the while making the bad guy money. So, and I know I'm going fast. This is a lightning talk, so we've got, last thing to look at is the consolehost.exe. This is the executable that's renamed to explorer.exe. We start looking at it again with strings. Start looking through it. And I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit. And we see that this is a program called XMRig. If you're not familiar with XMRig, this is another crypto mining software. So far, just by visiting this, by visiting endnote.com, if you had a vulnerable version of Flash on it, you are running CryptoMiner in your browser, and then you're also downloading and executing another CryptoMiner on your system. So you're making the bad guys even more money. So that was the first one. If you recall, let me jump back. Oops, sorry. There was also the second one down at the bottom, this master.tus.io, this really long file that it was downloading. So what I did was I just went through the same thing. I downloaded it, ran file against it. File says that we're dealing with Flash again, so I'm going to run strings against it. And we get the exact same thing. So what's going on here is the attacker has, or some attacker has compromised EndNote multiple times, each time putting a the embed tags on there, or the CoinHive tags on there, to go and download additional crypto miners. So from the blue team perspective, from my perspective, this was actually good because I could now go in and see, I now had all of these indicators that I could use to determine whether or not my system had been compromised. Let me go a little forward. So we had all these network indicators. We had CoinHive, which we already went through. We had the IP address of the web server that it was going to download the original PowerShell script, or I'm sorry, the original, the PowerShell script, consolehost.exe, and the original Flash file, and then the second site where the Flash file was, the second Flash file was located at. In addition to that, I had all these host indicators that I could look for. I could look for file names, add.swf, main.ps1, this explorer.exe file, and then also the scheduled task. So just by going through and doing these very simple techniques of just running strings against this file and downloading it from a safe location, I'll throw that in there. Don't download it from your corporate network, because if nothing else, you're going to be setting. You could set off your own alerts, or as you're going in and looking to see if any other systems have downloaded it, you've just found that you downloaded it yourself. You caught yourself. But we have all these indicators, in addition to anything else that we could have if we had logging set up. If I had the Windows event process logging set up, I could look to see if Flash executed. I could look to see if PowerShell executed, or this Explorer executed. But all this we got from about 5 minutes or 10 minutes of malware analysis. So, any questions? Yeah.
Why they would do 2 embeds like that? So one time you load it up, that's still down pretty.
So you're talking about with let me jump back to it. Yeah. So here where they've got the embed right there, and the second one right there, the Flash files.
Yeah, they're double dipping.
I don't know. The only thing that I can think of is that they have some automated scanner going across the internet, and they hit it once, and then they change their location of their file, and then they scanned across again and hit it a second time. That's all I can figure out. But yeah, sorry.
You think it might be because some people have like Flash disabled and the regular embed?
That is possible. Yeah, I did not check the hashes on both of the Flash files to see if they were the same. So I don't know if they modified it or not. But it is, if you look, it is in the CoinHive miner variable, it is the same account ID or whatever you call that. So it is the same person who's doing it, or group, or whatever you want to call it. Anything else?
Did you run like a Suez on the domain, like the IP address to see?
I did. It is this the one? No.
I'm just curious.
I did. It's
And also like
yeah. All right. So yeah, I looked at another one today, and it was in Israel, and I was trying to remember if that was the same one. But yeah, the master.2.io. I didn't look into that one, but I think it's like some file sharing site. So. Anyone else? Thank you.